1. Let me tell you about this awesome 1971 GMC 3/4 ton pickup I just found on Craigslist. This is one of those genuine Montana trucks that's never seen salt on the roads, which is huge for preservation. At $8,500, we're looking at a pretty solid deal for a classic workhorse. What's really catching my eye here is that transmission work. Only 2,500 miles on it with a Stage 3 shift kit. That's serious business, folks. It means this truck is ready to handle some serious power if you're thinking about dropping in a bigger motor. But honestly, the current 350 V8 is running strong as it is. The seller's done some meaningful maintenance too. We're talking new heater controls, fresh valve cover gaskets, new pinion seal, updated brake components including calipers, pads, and lines. They've even dialed in the steering gear, so she tracks nice and tight on the road. The blue paint gives it that classic look, and with 115K on the clock, rolled over. It's got some stories to tell. But here's what's important. It's got a clean title and the body is really solid, which is rare for these old workhorses. Look, I'm being straight with you. This isn't a show queen, but it's exactly what you want in a vintage 3/4 ton. Honest, well-maintained, and ready for either work or play. Whether you keep it stock or build it into something wilder, this GMC looks like a solid foundation at this price point. 2. Let me tell you about this sweet 1965 Chevy C10 stepside I just spotted for $10,000. This one's got a story. It's a grandfather's truck with just 49,073 original miles, which is incredibly low for a 58-year-old pickup. Now, I've got to point out something in the listing. The seller marked it as FWD, which is definitely a mistake. These C10s were rear-wheel drive, so that's just a listing error. But don't let that distract you from what we've got here. What makes this truck special is that 5.7 LV8 paired with a 3-speed manual transmission. That's a pretty rare combo these days. The wooden bed adds that perfect touch of vintage charm, and those new tires mean you won't have to worry about immediate maintenance there. For the modern crowd, they've added an aftermarket radio with speakers, so you can enjoy some tunes while cruising. But what really matters is that this appears to be a well-preserved piece of American truck history. At $10,000, considering the low original miles and overall condition, you're looking at a solid deal in today's classic truck market. These C10s are getting harder to find, especially ones with documented history and low miles. 3. Let's talk about this 1970 Ford F100 that's up for grabs at $4,200. I've got to be straight with you. This one's got some challenges, but hear me out. The elephant in the room, the engine's toast. We're talking about a blown rod and a cracked block, so you're definitely looking at an engine swap project here. The odometer shows 235,433 miles, but there's uncertainty about whether it's rolled over. But here's where it gets interesting. This truck's got some good bones and interesting history. It's a 3-owner vehicle, and those Pirelli tires are a nice touch. The seller's done some thoughtful work on the bench seat, even adding custom storage in the back. Plus, those original hubcaps they recently added really help the look. The body's wearing 2 shades of blue, original sky blue with a repaint, and the seller mentions it's got the perfect amount of rust, which in classic truck language usually means it's got some character. There's some front-end damage that needs attention, and it needs a new grille and lights. Look, at $4,200, you're buying a project truck that needs love. But if you're handy with a wrench and looking for a classic F100 to bring back to life, this could be your canvas. These trucks are getting harder to find, and the price reflects the engine situation. 4. Let's check out this absolutely clean 1976 Chevy C20 Scottsdale that just popped up for $14,000. First thing that catches my eye, only 59,650 miles on the clock, which is remarkably low for a 76 work truck. Now, this appears to be a dealer listing, and while they're offering financing options, let's focus on what makes this truck special. The Scottsdale trim was Chevy's upscale package back then, and this one's preserved beautifully. All the chrome bits, bumpers, and mirrors are present and looking sharp. They've thoughtfully modernized it where it counts. There's a Bluetooth-capable stereo with an AUX input, so you can enjoy your tunes while keeping that vintage vibe. The dual fuel tanks are a great feature for long hauls, and they're claiming it's a non-smoker vehicle, which is huge for interior preservation. What really stands out is the no stories claim, meaning this truck isn't hiding any sketchy history or major issues. It's running its original V8 with the 3-speed automatic transmission, which is the reliable powertrain combo you want in these trucks. At $14,000, we're in the territory of well-preserved classic trucks. The price reflects the low mileage and clean condition, but in today's market for classic C20S, especially Scottsdale's this clean, it's actually pretty reasonable. 5. Let me tell you about this absolutely stunning 1965 Ford Ranchero that just popped up for $25,000. This isn't your average classic. We're looking at a seriously well-done build here. First off, let's talk about that powertrain. It's running a 302 V8, which is a sweet upgrade from stock, paired with a top-loader 4-speed manual. That's muscle car territory right there. The sellers made some smart modern upgrades too, including a close ratio steering box and an I Did It tilt column for better drivability, plus a power front disc brake conversion that'll help you stop this beauty safely. The color combo is killer. Jet black exterior with a red interior. That's straight up hot rod perfection. Those Keystone mags wrapped in BFG tires give it that perfect period-correct muscle car stance. And they've even thought about modern convenience with a newly installed sound system. At 89,461 miles, this Ranchero's lived some life, but the upgrades and attention to detail suggest it's been well cared for. The seller's right. Trying to build one to this level would cost way more than the $25,000 asking price. You're getting a turnkey classic that combines the practicality of a Ranchero with serious muscle car attitude. This is one of those rides that'll turn heads at car shows and still be fun to cruise on weekends. The mix of classic style with modern upgrades makes it actually usable, not just a showpiece. 6. Let's talk about this sweet 1969 Ford Ranchero that's up for grabs at $18,500. Right off the bat, we need to talk about the value here. The seller's claiming over $28,000 invested in recent restoration work, and I'm inclined to believe it looking at the details. What we've got here is a freshly restored classic with just 3,000 miles on both a rebuilt V8 and automatic transmission. That's barely broken in for a fresh build. The seller mentions a super straight body with new paint, which is crucial on these Rancheros. They can be prone to rust and body issues if not properly maintained. At 85,000 original miles, this isn't a low-mileage survivor, but that's not really the point here. What matters is the comprehensive restoration work. The seller's offering a complete list of receipts, which is huge. That means you can see exactly where that $28,000 went. At $18,500, you're essentially getting a freshly restored '69 Ranchero for about 2/3 of the investment cost. These Rancheros are getting harder to find, especially ones that have had this level of attention. The '69 is particularly desirable with its clean body lines and muscle car era styling. The seller mentions they need to make room for another vehicle, which might explain the attractive price point. For someone looking for a turnkey classic that bridges the gap between muscle car and utility vehicle, this could be a solid deal. 7. Let's check out this 1974 Chevy Silverado that's up for grabs at $7,500. This one's got that classic 70s charm with some serious upgrades under the hood. First off, let's talk about what's been done. We've got a 350 V8 that's been upgraded with a Holley intake and Carter 4-barrel carb combo, plus headers for better breathing. That's a solid performance setup. Paired with a 4-speed manual transmission, this truck's got the right stuff for both work and play. The 6-inch lift kit and 10-inch aluminum wheels give it that proper off-road stance that these trucks wear so well. And hey, a good interior in a 74? That's not something you find every day. The seller mentions it comes with some extras, including a better rear bumper, and it's got a good windshield, which can be expensive to replace on these. Now there's no odometer reading listed, but on a truck like this, it's more about the condition and upgrades than the miles. The brown paint gives it that perfect 70s vibe, and being a 4x4, this thing's got some real utility potential. At $7,500, you're getting a lifted classic 4x4 with some nice performance upgrades. The seller seems honest about just having too many vehicles and needing to thin the herd. We've all been there. 8. Let me tell you about this 1977 Chevy C10 Bonanza that's popped up for just $2,650. First, I've got to correct something in the listing. The seller marked it as FWD, but these C10s are definitely rear-wheel drive. That's just a listing error. Now let's talk about what we've got here. It's a straight 6 with a 3-speed manual transmission, which is actually a pretty bulletproof combination. The Bonanza package was a nice trim level for these trucks back in the day. The seller's keeping it real simple. It starts and runs daily, which is exactly what you want to hear about a 46-year-old truck. They're claiming 10,000 miles, but on a 77 that's likely rolled over at least once or twice. Let's be realistic here. At $2,650, this is definitely on the budget-friendly end for a square-body C10, especially one that's running and driving. The seller mentions it has a straight body, which is a big plus because these old trucks can be rust magnets. Look, this isn't a show truck or a fully restored beauty. It's an honest working truck with the reliable inline-6 engine. For someone looking to get into the classic truck scene without breaking the bank or needing a reliable old work truck, this could be a solid deal. 9. Let me tell you about this 1977 Ford F250 that's up for $8,900. And I've got to appreciate the seller's honesty here. They're keeping it 100% real about everything. First, let's talk about the good stuff. You're looking at a big block-powered 77 4X4 with a C6 automatic and an NP 205 transfer case. That's some serious heavy-duty hardware. The truck's rocking 66K on the odometer, though who knows how many times it's rolled. And it's got some nice upgrades like LED lights all around and a sweet front bumper. Plus, that black paint just looks mean. Now here's where it gets interesting. The seller's super transparent about the truck's issues, and there are quite a few. We're talking about multiple fluid leaks, transmission, transfer case, oil, brakes that need bleeding, no heat, bypassed heater core, and tires that leak at the bead. The body's got some typical Midwest rust and Bondo work, though being originally from Oklahoma helped preserve it better than most. The steering's a bit wandery due to the RAM assist system, a common issue on these. And there's no radio, broken door cards, and a cracked windshield with no wipers. Oh, and forget about staying warm. The heater's bypassed. Look, $8,900 might seem steep given the issues, but the seller's right. These old Ford 4x4S are getting harder to find, especially with the big block. This is for someone who either wants a project to restore or doesn't mind a rough-around-the-edges classic truck with character. 10. Let me tell you about this wicked 1979 Ford Ranchero GT that's up for $7,800. And folks, this isn't your average Ranchero. This thing's been built to move. Let's talk about that powertrain because it's seriously impressive. We're looking at a Ford SVO Crate 351 with GT40 aluminum heads, pushing around 400 GP, mated to a Tremec 5-speed manual transmission. That's a serious performance combo. The 9-inch rear end with 4.10 gears and a locker means this thing hooks up and goes. The seller's done it right with the supporting mods too. Upgraded suspension with front and rear sway bars, fresh tires and wheels. And get this, the AC and power windows actually work. That's rare for a modified classic. At 25,000 miles shown, the mileage is less important than all these performance upgrades. The seller's even throwing in a new carpet kit still in the box and mentions other new parts. Look, at $7,800, considering the money invested in that drivetrain alone, a Ford SVO Crate engine isn't cheap. This seems like a serious performance bargain. You're getting a unique muscle car truck hybrid that's been built with some quality parts. The fact that it's a drive-at-home deal suggests everything's sorted and running right. This isn't just a Ranchero. It's a properly built street machine that happens to have a bed. 11. Let's talk about this 1968 Chevy C20 that's up for $10,000 firm. This is one of those honest working-class heroes that's managed to survive without getting too messed with over the years. What we've got here is an all-original heavy-duty Chevy with the classic 350 V8, paired with that sweet 4-speed manual transmission with the granny gear. perfect for heavy loads or just cruising at low RPMs. These powertrains are basically bulletproof when maintained right. Speaking of maintenance, the seller's done their homework here. We're looking at a bunch of fresh parts: new carburetor, distributor, fuel pump, water pump, and battery. They didn't stop there. They've also sorted the front end with new ball joints, tie rod ends, and wheel bearings. Fresh tires too. That's all the stuff you want to see done. The seller's honest about some surface rust, which is pretty normal for a 55-year-old work truck. The important thing is they're saying everything works, which is huge for these old trucks. At $10,000 firm, you're in the territory of a solid, well-maintained classic truck that's ready to work or cruise. These C20s are getting harder to find, especially ones that haven't been modified to death or left to rot. 12. Let me tell you about this interesting 1977 Chevy Silverado C20 I found on Craigslist for $3,300. I've got to be straight with you. This is one of those classic project trucks that needs some love, but it could be a real gem with some work. The good news? It's got a solid 350 V8 under the hood, an automatic transmission, and only 77,000 original miles, which is pretty impressive for a 45-year-old truck. They've done some recent work too: new windshield, fuel pump, and distributor, which is definitely a plus. But let's be real here. This truck isn't ready to drive home. It currently needs to be towed because of some brake issues. The pedal's squishy, and the rear brakes might be too tight from sitting after some work was done. The seller's being upfront about what it needs: brake work, smog belt reconnection, it was removed during valve cover replacement, smog certification, registration, and possibly new tires. For $3,300, you're looking at a classic truck with potential, but you need to go into this with your eyes open. It's not a turnkey vehicle. It's more of a weekend project that could turn into a reliable daily driver with some mechanical attention and investment. The clean title and relatively low mileage make it interesting, especially for someone who loves these old Chevys and isn't afraid to get their hands dirty. 13. Let me tell you about this sweet 1954 Ford F100 I spotted on Craigslist for $11,500. This is one of those finds that really gets the heart pumping for vintage truck enthusiasts. What we're looking at here is a pretty honest old Ford with its original 262 Sci V8 and 4-speed manual transmission. That's the authentic driving experience right there. The seller's claiming just 16,500 miles, which is pretty remarkable if true. Though with vehicles this age, it's always good to verify. The good news is that they've already done some smart upgrades, converting it to 12-volt electrical, which is a huge plus for reliability, and it's got fresh rubber all around. The body appears to be in solid shape. They're reporting straight panels with minimal rust, which is pretty rare for a nearly 70-year-old truck. It's wearing a red paint job, and these F100s have some of the most beautiful body lines of any vintage pickup. The fact that it still has its original heater is a nice touch for authenticity. At $11,500, it's priced in the reasonable range for a running, driving 54 F100, especially considering the straight body and minimal rust. The seller seems serious about moving it, having reduced the price for a quick sale. Just remember, like any vehicle of this age, you'll want to give it a thorough inspection before pulling the trigger. This could be a fantastic opportunity for someone looking for a classic F100 that they can drive and enjoy while gradually improving. These trucks have been steadily appreciating, and they're absolutely gorgeous when properly restored. What do you think about this piece of American automotive history? 14. Let me tell you about this absolutely incredible 1979 Ford F350 Camper Special that just popped up on Craigslist for $14,500. This isn't your average old Ford. We're talking about a documented piece of automotive history here. First off, this is a California truck with a Marty report to back up its heritage, originally sold at Glendale Ford, and has spent its entire life in SoCal. That's huge because it means we're looking at a rust-free example, which is like striking gold with these old trucks. With 75,000 miles on the clock, it's barely broken in for a vehicle of this caliber. Under the hood, you're getting the legendary 460 V8, an absolute torque monster that Ford built these trucks around. What makes this particular F350 special is that it's a genuine camper special, which was a limited production package that Ford offered for serious hauling and camping enthusiasts. The current owner has clearly taken great care of this beast. They've recently done a proper refresh on the interior with period-correct cloth upholstery, installed new brakes all around, and, get this, the AC blows ice cold. That's rare for a truck this age. The cruise control is working too, which is another uncommon feature to find still functioning on a 79. At $14,500, considering the documented history, condition, and the fact that it's a rare camper special with working AC and cruise control, this seems like a solid deal in today's market. These trucks are only getting harder to find, especially in this kind of preserved condition. 15. Let me tell you about this absolute gem I found on Craigslist. A 1978 GMC Sierra Grande, 2500 listed at $10,500. And folks, this isn't just any old GMC. This is a seriously well-equipped heavy-duty truck that survived in remarkable condition. Let's talk about what makes this truck special. Under the hood, you're getting the legendary 454 big block V8. That's the monster motor you want in these trucks. It's got all the heavy-duty goodies too. Engine oil cooler, HD transmission, and a locking differential with 3.73 gears. This truck was built to work. What's really impressive is the mileage. Just 56,240 miles on the clock, and get this, it's still wearing its original yellow paint. Finding a rust-free example from 1978 is like finding a needle in a haystack. But here we are. The options list is incredible for a 78. Working AC, cruise control, tilt steering, power steering, heavy-duty power brakes, and even an auxiliary fuel tank. Oh, and for you period-correct folks, it's still got its original 8-track player. This truck is wearing the Scottsdale equipment package, which was the upscale trim level for these trucks. The heavy-duty suspension means it's ready for work, but the luxury features make it comfortable enough for daily use. At $10,500, considering the condition, low miles, and that massive 454 engine, you're looking at a fair price for what appears to be a well-preserved piece of American truck history. These square-body GMCs are really heating up in the classic truck market, especially ones this clean with the big block. 16. Let me tell you about this 1967 El Camino I found on Craigslist for $13,500. And I've got to be completely honest with you here. This one's definitely a project car that needs some serious attention. First, let's address the elephant in the room. It's got a branded Arizona title that's currently missing, which means you'll need to deal with MVD inspections after any work is done. The seller's being upfront about not having started or driven it in many years, so we're talking about a car that's been sitting for quite a while. Under the hood, there's a 454 big block with an automatic transmission, which is a potent combination when running right. The odometer shows 15,000 miles, but that's meaningless since it's broken and has rolled over. The paint is listed as custom, but given the car's condition, you'd want to inspect that closely. At $13,500, you need to really think this through. While 67 El Caminos are desirable classics and the 454 swap is interesting, you're looking at reviving a long dormant vehicle with title issues. This isn't a weekend project. We're talking about a serious restoration commitment here. For the right person who knows these cars and has the skills and patience to deal with both mechanical restoration and title issues, this could be an interesting project. But let's be real. You're buying yourself a project that's going to need a lot of love, time, and money before it's roadworthy again. 17. Let me tell you about this 1985 Dodge Ram Charger I found on Craigslist for $5,900, and I'm going to keep it real with you. This is definitely a project vehicle that needs some love. The good news first. It's powered by the robust 5.9 LV8. That's the 360 for you Mopar folks, which the seller says is running great, and it's got headers that give it a mean sound. It's a 4x4 with an automatic transmission, showing 77,000 miles on the clock, and comes with a clean Arizona title. Being from Arizona, that usually means less rust concerns than you'd find in other regions. Now let's be honest about the current state. The seller admits it's a running project. The interior needs assembly as all the parts, including door panels and cluster bezel, are just sitting inside the vehicle. It's been sitting in storage and hasn't been registered during the current owner's 4-year possession. It does have some nice wheels and tires, which is a plus. At $5,900, you're buying potential here. These Ram Chargers are becoming increasingly popular among classic 4x4 enthusiasts, and the 5.9 is a solid power plant. However, you need to go into this knowing you'll be spending time putting the interior back together and likely addressing other issues that come with a vehicle that's been sitting. 18. Let me tell you about this absolutely wicked 1984 Chevy C10 that just popped up on Craigslist for $21,000. This isn't your average square body. We're talking about a purpose-built drag strip monster. Let's dive into what makes this truck special. Under the hood sits a massive 468 cubic inch big block Chevy, paired with a race-prepped 2-speed Power Glide transmission. That's serious drag strip hardware right there. The seller claims 6.91 seconds in the 1/8 mile, which is seriously quick for a truck of this era. The build specs are impressive. It's got a full 6-point roll cage for safety, MSD ignition for reliable spark, and dual batteries for stable power delivery. Out back, there's a stout 12-bolt rear end with 4.56 gears and a Posey traction differential, helping put the power down through those 3x10.5-15 slicks. The automatic shifter features adjustable RPM speed shifts, which is crucial for consistent passes. Now, let's be real here. This is a dedicated race truck. The odometer's broken, but that's pretty irrelevant for a purpose-built drag vehicle. While it's wearing a clean red paint job, this isn't your Sunday cruiser. It's built for one thing: going fast in a straight line. At $21,000, you're buying a turnkey race truck that's ready for the strip. Keep in mind that the investment in the engine, transmission, cage, and other race components likely exceeds the asking price. 19. Let me tell you about this sweet 1980 El Camino I found on Craigslist for $12,500, and this one's got a story worth hearing. We're looking at a 2-owner cream and dark blue beauty with just 46,525 original miles. No rollover here. What makes this one special is its history. Originally from Kentucky and now in Florida, this El Camino has never seen snow or salt, which is huge for these classics. The current owners picked it up in 2020 directly from the original owner, and they've been taking good care of it. Under the hood, you'll find the 305 V8 paired with an automatic transmission. The current owners have done some solid maintenance work. They've installed a new Edelbrock carburetor, fresh tires, new shocks, and updated the ignition with new plugs and wires. They've also just had the AC serviced, and it blows ice cold. That's a big deal in Florida. The body is straight with no accident history, and importantly, there's no underbody rust. The floorboards are solid, which is often a trouble spot on these cars. It's got some practical touches too, like a rubber bed liner and floor mats. The interior is done in dark blue, and while it's got manual windows and locks, that just means fewer things to go wrong. At $12,500, you're looking at a well-maintained, rust-free example with known history and recent mechanical updates. These El Caminos are getting harder to find in this condition, especially with documented low mileage and just 2 owners. 20. Let me tell you about this absolutely stunning 1985 C10 Silverado that's listed for $29,900, and wow, this is one seriously well-built square body. This is a frame-off restored short bed that's been given the full treatment. Under the hood, you're getting a rebuilt Vortec 350 V8 paired with a TH 350 automatic transmission. The seller's friend from Childress, Texas built this truck, and it's clear they didn't cut any corners. Let's talk about the aesthetics. It's wearing fresh Code 19 midnight black paint that's been properly buffed to a mirror finish, including the door jambs and dash metal. They've installed all new brightwork, including wheel well moldings, chrome bumpers, and an Argent grille with GM trim. The interior is completely redone in gray, featuring new cloth seats, restored door panels, new dash pad, and fresh black cut pile carpet. They've added some nice modern touches, like a chrome I Did It tilt column and a 3-spoke steering wheel. The mechanical side is just as impressive. The frame was blasted and painted. It's sitting on a Beltec 2/4 drop suspension, and both the front and rear ends have been rebuilt with new bearings and gears. It's got power windows with new motors, working power locks, and ice-cold AC. The cooling system's been upgraded with an aluminum radiator and dual electric fans. Rolling on 17 inches alloy rally wheels with Nitto radials, this truck isn't just for show, it's built to drive. They've thought of everything, from new body mounts to a fresh dual exhaust system.